seems to be a little warm.
The coach door
It
appears to be
doesn't
warm.
fit firmly all the way around. It's like it's maybe slightly twisted. Is there any way to get that straightened out?
The only way
You can adjust it,
Yeah.
but it's probably more trouble than it's worth.
Get a new seal.
Most people assume that black seal around there, it starts to break, and so they want to replace it. Well, the part you can see, the black you can see out there, has nothing to do with sealing, it's decorative trim. The
The
actual
little
seal
thin-
is
the real
between the
thin piece.
door and the frame. If you look at it, it's about a ½ inch wide, and there's a little bump on one side. That bump is the seal.
Okay.
And they wear, and they do wear out.
Around the outside. But I mean, you can physically see the metal, that it doesn't quite, it's not quite right.
Well, I ran into a post, and it didn't move. So mine, I actually bent a hinge on my door, and I've got it almost right, but not perfect, but the gasket is sealing. That's all I care about.
Okay.
I don't quite understand downshifting, upshifting and all that. I mean, I have an automatic transmission. Isn't it supposed to do that stuff for me?
Yes.
For the most part, yeah.
It's so confusing.
Now, I read, that's one of the things that people told me is on Roga, be sure to downshift
I know,
and
and it's like,
upshift.
I'm so confused that
It's bull. Forget it. Put it in drive and go.
Yeah, that's what I
The
thought.
main
It
thing you
doesn't. I
wanna
can
do-
hear it shifting. Why do I have to?
Keep an eye on speed versus RPM, okay? At 10 miles an hour in first gear, you should be at 3,000 RPM. At 30 miles an hour in second gear, you should be at 3,000 RPM. At 50 miles an hour in third gear, you should be at 3,000 RPM. At 65 miles an hour in fourth gear, you should be about 3,000 RPM. Those are rough numbers. They can play, vary a little bit. The main thing is to keep the torque converter locked up in the transmission. And those are numbers I know it's locked up. Unfortunately, I've looked, not thoroughly probably, but I've looked and I don't see an easy way to get an indicator as to when the torque converter is locked up, because it's an electromechanical system. And so if you're driving and you get a little strain and you push on the gas a little more, the torque converter will unlock. Your RPMs will go up about 300. Okay, if you see the tach move about 300 RPM, 300 to 400 RPM, you know the torque converter just unlocked, and it's going to generate a lot of heat. It's slipping. If you're driving along and it jumps about 700 RPM, get downshifted to a different gear, and that's not going to generate any heat. It's going to lock up. If you try to go too fast, it might add a tiny bit of heat, but not near as much as unlocking the torque converter.
I've noticed sometimes when I lay off the gas a little bit, it does something. I don't know what it's doing. It seems like it shifts into something.
It's a torque converter releasing
Cruise
and
control
re-engaging.
in hilly country is when it'll do what Blaine's talking about.
But I thought you're not supposed to use cruise control when you're on the hills and stuff.
It doesn't make any difference.
It's best not
It's going to do what it needs to do.
Right.
We
What about
thought,
going downhill?
we thought the engine was skipping, because we, on level ground, it shifts fine, but we start going up an incline, and it's almost like bucking.
Yeah.
Now, I feel it, she doesn't.
It tends, when
Because it's always
you're
done that. It's-
on any kind of an incline,
Yeah.
it tends to try to hang in the gear longer.
Uh,
Okay, from the factory, all of those are, the transmission control module, TCM, is set up for adaptive mode. What that does is it learns how you drive and it tries to shift based on how you've been driving.
Yeah.
If two different people are driving it, they can drive different enough that it thoroughly confuses it.
That's what I read, and so it told me how to fix that
So
for the
what I
driver.
did,
You
I
turn it
found
off
an easy
and-
way. What I did is I used my VCDS, which is it's an aftermarket Volkswagen computer system,
yeah,
and I set my TCM to economy mode. So it's going to do its best to shift gears as quickly as it can so that it's getting best economy.
yeah.
You can also force it into sport mode, which means stay in each gear as long as you can and wring out all the power you can find.
Yeah.
But,
We even,
I mean, you can still override that to some extent, but
we even tried to change the spark plugs because we thought that the gap might have been too hard,
He did, I didn't.
but we realized that the spark plugs were new.
And you can have problems with the valve body. things can get sticky in there and everything, or the pressure could be a little low, and it won't shift as firmly as it should.
I think it was used to me driving because it's my rig and I drive it usually and I drive a little bit more aggressively.
I baby it.
And so then he took over
I'll tell you
the
what you do,
driving.
you wanna find out how much you baby it, you get you a scan gauge,
I have one.
and one of the things you put on there is LOD.
Okay,
If you can keep that under 30, you're babying it.
okay.
Oh.
And you're
LOD stands for?
but should you do that? I mean,
Engine load.
Engine load.
And you do want to do that, or you don't want to do that? It don't
It's
matter.
just something you can look at.
I mean,
I
do-
tried it one time and I can't do it. I'm very gentle.
me neither. I can't. I drive.
Put it in gear and step on the gas and go.
People tend to be,
Just drive it, can't you?
Yeah.
Get in and drive it?
It's just like I was saying.
that's really the thing to do.
Yeah.
Get in and drive it.
It's like I was saying a while ago, it's a tough rig.
Your
Yeah,
brakes
it takes
fix
a
it.
lot. We
If
took
you're
it.
driving
We
it
took
and
it
it starts
places
doing the
doing
moping
it.
thing,
California.
just back off a
We
little
were up
bit
in the
and just give it a little
mountains.
less gas and then just,
Like I
He was-
said, I was 10 miles, a 10-mile climb at 4,000 RPM for 10 miles.
Yeah, we did
Took it all.
too, but we did it.
And the peak torque RPM on this engine is, on the 24 valve, it's around 3,500 RPM, from what I recall.
32, 35.
It's right in that range. So if you think about keeping the engine RPMs in that range, you're gonna get the most performance out of the engine. If it slows down below 2,500, it's not as efficient. And if you go,
Anything under about 3,000 is where it starts to get a little iffy.
It starts really having to overwork.
so you wanna look at your tach and try and keep it around
I
35.
mean, it likes to turn.
I can't. At 60 miles an hour, it's only at 2,800
See,
RPM.
you gotta go on the interstates, Dwayne.
I'm on the interstate doing 60.
Oh, okay.
Whoa.
I don't
We
do,
went
I
up
don't do
to the,
60.
And we went up to the Grand Teton.
Yeah.
And we went up and we kind of had to go first gear. So everybody's giving us the flow of the wave because we were going so slow, you know. But then we're coming down the other side. The brakes were overheating,
Put her down.
chattering, so you can put it.
Yeah.
That's when you
Down
want to
the first.
downshift. What I do when I'm coming down a long mountain is I don't downshift. What I do is slow way down as I come over the top. I get down to 30 miles an hour and then coast until I get up to about 60 and then hit the brakes hard to get back down to 30 and then take my foot off the brake so they
Okay.
don't overheat. And then
'Cause they were
let it-
chattering, you know, and scaring the hell out of
If it
us.
does that, you
Something
gotta work rotor.
Yeah.
It should never do that.
Now,
Well, it stopped after we cooled it down.
right. Now, you may, all of you may be aware, when you're in drive, without mashing the button or anything, you can go all the way down to first. But you
Second.
can't, you can get down to second, but you can't go into first without mashing the button.
Okay.
Because you can just all the way down to second. Of course, if you're going too fast, you don't really want to do that.
Yeah.
So to get in-
However, the computer's supposed to be smart enough that it won't do something stupid.
It protects
Now, I
itself.
got an anecdote of, there was a lady was driving and had her dog with her, and her dog got up there and he kicked it into reverse while she was doing 70 miles an hour down the interstate and nothing happened. So it is semi-intelligent anyway.
So if I'm doing everything you do, the scan gauge, my coolant tip goes up, 240, 250, and I
Do you have a
have a
cooler?
panic attack.
Do you have a cooler? A transmission cooler?
Yeah.
It shouldn't be going up to 250 or 260 unless you're
Well,
really,
After that
Fine,
temp,
it will,
If you force it hard enough, if the torque converter unlocks and you keep pushing it, transmission temperature will just keep climbing.
yeah.
Now, a little known fact is there's a safety built in for that too. If the transmission fluid temperature reaches 278, you don't have fourth gear anymore.
It goes into a limp.
If it keeps going and it gets to 312, you don't have third gear anymore. You have first and second.
well, I'm babying these things. I mean, I'm driving, I'm probably not getting up to 3,000 RPM.
Well, it don't
Well, we'll
care.
probably have the
Quality
torque
up there.
converter unlocked though.
It will take it. Like I say, that long stretch I had, $4 grand for 10 miles in second gear. It took every bit of I did get up to about 250, 260, and as soon as you topped out, it went right back down.
Yeah, it does.
It goes right down.
But if you pull over and let it cool down, what do you
Well, you
leave it
can.
running or turn it off? Or
You don't need to do that.
You leave it running so it
You
circulates.
want to keep the air going over the
And you may
radiator.
not be safe, and they don't do that.
If you have an external cooler, when you pull over and cool it down, leave the engine running and turn on the air conditioner.
That's what I thought.
That'll
Brings
force
the fan,
Up to high.
pulls that air through
I
there,
turned the heater
cools
on.
it off.
I turned the air conditioner
The air
off and it made it
conditioning-
worse.
Yeah, because when you turn the air conditioner on, the fans run one speed higher than the engine needs it to be.
Oh, okay, because I couldn't figure out what I should do to
Right.
make it.
I actually did some experimenting a little bit, and I believe the switchover point is about 40 miles an hour. If you're less than 40, it's good to have the fans running. If you're over 40, the air's moving 40 miles an hour anyway. So it doesn't make a difference.
A friend of mine who I thought, I never knew how ingenious he was down on the California Baja, and his fans go out. He finds him a box fan with bungee cords to the front of the Rialta, plugs them into the generator. That got him on down the road.
I believe that's the homepage picture on the Rialta Tech Group on Groups IO.
I mean, I used to think I was
I
a
remember
genius.
that picture. That's
I
right.
can't hold a candle to that guy.
I don't know if it's an opening page, but I remember seeing that picture somewhere.
Yeah, it is. It's there.
It is still there?
It is there, yeah.
Well, the
It's
guy,
really cool.
I try to change those every once in a while. Most people don't go to the homepage, but
the guy that
I
did,
change it every once in a while.
the guy that did that is here.
Is that right?
He's here.
Raise your hand.
Parking right over there. But he's not in the building. He's outside the building. He's over on the other side. He's got a different rig.
Thank you, Gene and Kurt. Thank you, guys.
All I did was MC it. This guy.
Good information.
Oh, there's one.
Got to dream big, or don't dream at all.